Hello everyone, and welcome to a very interesting game, also from round 4 of the 2013 Candidates Tournament. We have a game between Boris Gelfand and Vassily Ivanchuk. Now, for a lot of you, this will be the first time that you see this game, but this game is absolutely amazing, and it features one move that is really incredible. It's like the ultimate calculated bluff slash brilliancy. You'll see what I mean. And also, we do have some photos from this round, and we'll talk about the standings after the game. So here we have a couple of photographers. They are actually taking photos of Vassily Ivanchuk here, and you can see Vassily there. He's like, "Oh, come on, guys! I know I'm a star, but take some photos of Magnus as well." And so they did. And here we have a photo of Boris Gelfand. This is a photo before the game even started, so you can see that piercing gaze. It's who knows what he looks like, when there's actually something going on the board. And this is Ivanchuk before the game started. He's having trouble deciding which pen to use to actually write down the moves. So a lot of different strategies. So let's see this game. Gelfand opens with the d4, and as you'll see, Ivanchuk will employ a very old variation, the Chigorin defense. We have d5 and c4, so we have the queen's gambit on the board, and Ivanchuk goes for knight to c6, the Chigorin defense. And here white does have a couple of options. Capturing on d5 immediately is not considered that great for white, because after queen captures, let's say you defend the pawn, black can very easy force a variation that will be somewhat equal, but will leave white with an isolated d pawn. So knight to c3, attacking the queen, bishop to b4, now pinning the knight, and after e3, captures, 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 and it's a pretty equal position, but black has 2 pawn islands, white has 3 pawn islands, and an isolated d pawn. Maybe if you really enjoy isolated pawns, you can play this with white, but white really doesn't achieve anything here. So after knight to c6, Gelfand played knight to f3. We have bishop to g4, knight to c3, e6, bishop to f4, bishop captures on f3, g captures on f3, and bishop to b4 by Ivanchuk. So obviously Gelfand is not going to castle kingside anytime soon, and it's a question if he will castle queenside. So we have e3, knight g to e7, queen to c2, making room for queenside castling. D captures on c4, bishop captures on c4, and knight to d5 now. Ivanchuk attacks the pinned piece on c3, and also he would definitely enjoy playing knight captures on f4, tripling white's pawns. Of course, Gelfand will not allow this. Bishop to g3, and we have h5, preparing h4, h3, queen to d7, Ivanchuk also prepares queenside castle, and now we do have it. Queenside castle by Gelfand and queenside castle by Ivanchuk. Knight to e4. Here, king to b8, also white follows in this example. King to b1, always a useful move, extra defense of these a pawns, and also you don't really want your king on an open file, or in black's case on this diagonal, same as the queen. So h4, bishop to h2, and now bishop to d6. A very interesting moment in the game. Ivanchuk either offers a trade of bishops, so bishop captures, or he offers knight captures on e6, on d6, which would leave white with the bishop pair. And here Gelfand goes for a very interesting decision. He plays f4, which keeps the tension on the board, and this is a very strong knight on e4, but it kind of locks out this bishop from the game on h2. And so Ivanchuk immediately takes advantage of this. He plays f5, locking this pawn on f4, so for now this bishop is kind of useless. We have knight to g5, knight to a5, attacking the bishop, bishop to e2, and now rook back to c8. Now Ivanchuk is planning to bust open the c file. Queen to d2, we have bishop to b4, attacking the queen, queen to d3, and now c5. D captures on c5, rook captures on c5, and now e4. And this is the critical and really a great moment in this game. Gelfand attacks Ivanchuk's knight on d5. So what do you do here? Well, there are a lot of things you'd enjoy doing, but what Ivanchuk played is absolutely brilliant. He plays rook h to c8. So he gives up a knight on d5. And what's the idea here? Well, the idea is that black will get a really beautiful attack if white actually captures it. But capturing the knight is the strongest move. Unfortunately for Gelfand, Gelfand did not play this move. Gelfand did not play it because it's extremely complicated to calculate this, and Ivanchuk was in severe time trouble in this game. So Ivanchuk already lost 2 games in this tournament due to time control. He ran out of time, and this game he is also in serious time trouble. So perhaps Gelfand did not want to calculate this, as Ivanchuk did spend really a lot of time calculating rook h to c8. But it's not all that clear. If you want, you're free to pause this position and see how this works for white and why it works. But I will also show it. It's really, I mean, this is, if you founded this, you're much better player than me and than most of the players. But e captures on d5 is really dangerous, but also works for white due to rook captures here. And now the only move that works for white is queen to f3. After queen to f3, black plays rook captures on d1, rook captures, and now comes the shocker. Queen captures on d1. This comes with check. Bishop captures on d1, and now knight to c4. The threat is, of course, knight to d2, checking the king. This will also fork the queen. And this is probably Gelfand saw the position until here, and he didn't like it. But it would truly take a Tigran Petrosian to play this position. Now you have to play king to c2. And what's the defense for white? After knight to d2 check, this opens up a discovered check from the rook. Also, the queen is now attacked. The knight is protected by the bishop, and now comes queen to c3. This is the defensive idea. And after bishop captures on c3, pawn captures on c3, and the knight moves, bishop to e2, knight moves, now white would have 2 bishops for a rook, and he would be in a better position after you activate the h2 bishop, of course. But going into this, it would take someone who really likes to punish himself, or he's like the greatest defensive player. Petrosian did come to mind. So after this rook h to c8 move by Ivanchuk, Gelfand actually doesn't accept this piece. He plays rook to c1. Rook to c1, and now Ivanchuk plays knight to c4, and now the position is completely crazy. What do you do here? You don't really have time for a slow move or even to capture the knight now. If you capture the knight now, then knight to d2 wins the game immediately for black. After knight to d2 check, you don't really have a move here. You can either capture the knight with the queen, you lose the queen after bishop captures, or you can go king a1, and then it's simply game over. Rook captures b1, checkmate. So Gelfand, of course, a great player as he is, he found a very nice idea. He played rook captures on c4. Rook captures on c4, and now e captures on d5. We have pawn captures on d5, and now queen to b3. Here Ivanchuk played queen to c6, now with this beautiful rook-queen rook battery on the c-file, and it's only move 26, and Ivanchuk is down to only 2 minutes on the clock. So it's gonna be hard. He has to make 14 more moves in 2 minutes. So this is the third game that Ivanchuk is, almost losing on time. Bishop captures on c4. We have pawn captures on c4, attacking the queen, and now queen to f3, offering a trade of queens. White has to play very actively. He can't really allow c3. So queen to b5. Ivanchuk declines, of course, the trade of queens and is preparing to push c3. Queen to e2, now preventing c3, because now then queen captures queen is an idea. And if you look at this position, Ivanchuk is still down a full piece, but this rook on h1 is still undeveloped. The bishop on h2 is not going to be developed anytime soon, and the knight on g5 is a bit stranded, Yeah, okay, he can get back into the game, but at the moment he's not really doing anything. So rook to e8, Ivanchuk attacks Gelfand's queen, queen to c2, and now c3 finally by Ivanchuk. And again, you have to be very careful here. If you play something like b3, then rook to e2 is coming and you're losing this game. Queen c1, check, king moves, and now queen to c5, threatening queen to c3 checkmate. After you prevent this, then bishop to a3, simply wins the queen and the game. So after c3, b captures on c3 and bishop captures on c3. So you have two options here. You have king to c1 and queen to b3. In the game, Gelfand did give it a serious thought, and it did take him a while to decide how to defend against Ivanchuk's great threat. But he decided to play queen to b3. And after queen to d3, Gelfand repeated moves. Queen c2, queen to b5, queen to b3, and after queen to c2, queen b5, they agreed to a draw, as it was a threefold repetition. So it doesn't matter, Ivanchuk was extremely low on time, but Gelfand also got into time trouble, and he couldn't figure out if it was safe to play king to c1. But it's a good thing that he didn't, because king to c1 loses terribly for white. Also a very nice position. Gelfand didn't play it. Who knows if he saw it? Maybe he just didn't have time to calculate it. But he decided not to play it, which is of course very nice. If you don't have time to calculate a mating attack, don't expose your king without a reason. But it's a very nice puzzle for you to solve. You know, if you like attacking, especially. So there are actually two attacking ideas here that work. Feel free to pause the video and find either one of them or both of them, even better. So I will give it a couple of seconds for you to decide. For those of you who were able to solve this, congratulations, you are an excellent attacker. And for those of you who want to enjoy the show, there are two ideas, like we said. One is rook to c8. There's a queen on c2 and king on c1. Of course, you would like a rook on c8, and now you're threatening all sorts of discoveries with the bishop. Doesn't really matter where you move the bishop. White will lose this. Yeah, okay, let's see a couple of ideas. If king tries to run, king d1, then you get queen to d5 check. If king moves to c1, then simply queen captures on h1, and this will soon be over. King has to move, you grab the queen, and it's all over. After queen d5 check, okay, you don't have to go to king c1, you can even go king e2, but it doesn't help. Rook e8 check. Now you can't go to f3, you have to go to f1, and now rook to e1. This will be checkmate, as the queen is covering g2. Another interesting idea after this queen d5, not after queen d5, instead of rook to c8, was if you found bishop d2 check immediately. This also works because if you capture with the queen, if queen captures, then you get rook to c8 check, king moves, and now queen to b1 check. King moves, and now rook to e8 check. The king cannot come to d3 or f3 as the queen is blocking those squares, so you have to go king to f3, and then queen to h1 is a beautiful checkmate as the rook is covering the entire e-file. And another thing, after bishop to d2, if you did find this, king captures on d2 is also an option, but then of course you can see that rook to e2 wins immediately. King moves, rook captures, king captures, and then queen to c6 check, checks the king and grabs the rook, and then it's a completely winning game. Yeah, even funnier, after the king moves and you capture the rook, there's actually no way to save this bishop, because knight f3 is impossible. The queen is preventing the knight from coming to f3, so that's even worse. This bishop really did not, show anything this game. It was really a useless piece. So when Ivanchuk sacrificed a piece, he actually realized that Gelfand sacrificed a piece long before him. But yeah, after queen to b5, a draw was agreed here, and Gelfand saw that playing something like king to c1 simply doesn't work. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it, and after this game, although this was a draw, I mean, what a draw, and that's why I said it. Some of you might not have seen this game because it was drawn, but it would be a shame not to see such a game. And after this game, Carlsen did win his game in round 4, but all of the other games were drawn. So after round 4, Carlsen caught up to Aronian, so it's Carlsen and Aronian in first place, and in second place it's Peter Svidler alone by himself, so a very intense tournament so far. And as usual, I will put a link in the description below with a very nice article by Peter Dodgers, where you can check out a little bit about every game, and also there will be some nice photos in the link also in the description below, so do check that out. So yeah, thank you all for watching. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here, and I will see you soon. Hopefully I will get back to my hometown by Wednesday, and then we'll have some nice videos from round 5 of the 2013 candidates tournament. See you soon.